Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 4 of Clone X Radio. My name's Toomey, aka Happy Daddy, and this is an Artifact community podcast. It's a conversation between members of the community. Whoever wants to come up and have a chat. I've been saying this for the last few episodes. Anyone and everybody is welcome. Anyone is free to reach out and ask to come on for a chat, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. My guest today isn't someone I had met previously in the space before starting this podcast. They reached out after the first episode and said, "Hey, I'd love to come on and have a chat." So we booked it in, and we haven't spoke before this, very briefly before starting the live stream, and I must say we have had some technical difficulties already. So fingers crossed everything runs smooth. If there are any issues, please just bear with us. But if you're listening to the podcast recording, I will do my best to remove all of that kind of stuff. And speaking of the podcast, the first 3 episodes are now live across, should be pretty much every platform, all the big ones, Apple, Google, Spotify. And my goal moving forward is to always have these episodes live on the podcast apps within 24 hours of it going live across Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And you can also rewatch the previous ones if you'd like to watch the videos. They are available on Twitter and YouTube at the moment, and will be going up on Twitch soon. But enough with the intro. Let's jump into it. Let's bring my guest on, Alone Architect. Welcome to the stream. Let me check I can hear you okay. How's the mic? There it is.
I hear you. Do you hear me?
I do. I hear you great.
Cool.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for coming on. What was it that sort of interested you to reach out and sort of offer to come on? Because I got to admit, I've been struggling to get a lot of guests on.
I guess I'm used to doing this because I'm a professional musician, producer. So I like to just do interviews and connect with people and talk to people and just, intermingle. Plus, I'm obsessed with the Clone X community. I'm obsessed with Clone X and NFTs and Web3 and just the future of where all this is going and the convergence between that and music as well and that and art. So it just seemed really interesting. I watched a couple of your, or I watched one fully that you did, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm like, hey, let's go and have a chat.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. I mean, it sounds like we're going to have a lot to talk about for sure. We're definitely going to share a lot of common interests. But first of all, do you want to just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what you do in the real world, and then we'll jump into the metaverse.
Sweet. So, my name's Alone Architect, but my birth name is Jeff. Alone Architect tends to be, or is the name of my music project, my producer name. And I'm initially from Montreal, Canada. I live out in California right now. So I'm here, just doing the thing like everyone else that is in the entertainment industry, I guess, and yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I have my project. I produce for people. I co-write with people. I do photography. I do a bunch of stuff. I'm just an artist, generally speaking, but music is my sharpest tool, I guess I would say. Oh, I lost your audio.
Muted myself to take a sip of my water,
right.
didn't I? Nice one. Thanks God. I thought we had a technical issue for a sec, but that was all user error. Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I had a little browse of your link tree through your Twitter. So if you guys want to check out some of the work that Alone Architect's doing, definitely do. I found it really interesting. I watched some of your videos. I guess they were kind of like music videos, but they're kind of art in their own way. Very, I mean this in the best way possible. Very dark. The video I was watching,
100%.
It made me feel very uneasy, which I love. I like the horror genre, although I think it's kind of gone to shit lately. I like stuff that makes me feel
Agree.
Yeah, right. I like stuff that makes me feel uneasy, on edge, like uncomfortable, not necessarily fear, but that kind of uncomfortable feeling, I think, is something really difficult to achieve these days in sort of film. So seeing the stuff you were doing, your work, I think it is really interesting, and everyone should definitely go check it out. Can you tell us a little bit more about how would you kind of describe the genre of those kind of videos and the music that you make?
Well, I'm gonna assume you watched the instrumental "You Never Loved Me" video. That's the one
Yeah,
you watched,
possibly.
right? And Yeah, so I think what I would describe my style as would be dark, electronic music, but, songs. So that video you saw is from a few years ago, and the project has kind of changed a little bit since then. Because prior to that, I wasn't singing, I was mostly producing, and I had guest vocalists come on, and I would write with them, obviously, writing and producing, and then doing instrumental stuff as well. But over the past year, I decided to destroy the limiting belief that I have a bad voice, and I started singing. So since that has happened, it's taken on a little bit of a different shape. It's still moody, has a little bit of that sad boy kind of thing going on. But ultimately, I think it's just, what it is right now. It's songs, and it's just like dark and moody electronic based music. I'd say, and electronic, not as in dance music, but I deal mostly in a lot of synths and programmed drums and stuff like that. So that's how I would categorize it: dark electronic music or dark pop, something like that.
Yeah, awesome. And interesting to hear you talking about singing because I feel like I can't sing. I've always had this thing where I can't sing. I'm tone deaf. I had singing lessons when I was a kid. My mum got me some singing lessons because I did like drama school and I was always the kid in the production who couldn't sing. And even
Mm.
my like singing teacher just kind of gave up on me. Now, do you believe that
Oh.
everybody can sing? Because that's what they say, right? Everyone can sing. You just need to like learn how. Do you think that's true?
I think that's a tough question, actually. I think everyone can sing. I think what's most important is having like a good sense of pitch. I think if you have a good ear, because there's some people where you hear them singing along with things and they're kind of tone deaf and they're not hitting the right
That's me.
notes. So I think everyone can sing. I think everyone's voice has a place in the world. And I think it just comes down to cultivating things. I think obviously certain people are born with perfect pitch and other people have to work on it, but I think it really comes down to training, like anything else. I think if you train your ear, then your voice could follow suit, if that makes sense. So I
Mm,
think a lot of things are just like limiting beliefs with human beings, is really what I believe. I think we have these thoughts in our heads, and everyone has their internal monologues that kind of go on and tells you that you can't do this or you can't do that. And even the most successful, confident people have that. But I think generally those people just say, shut up, and they don't listen to it and they just go forth anyway. So I think it's mostly having the thought like, I can't sing, that prevents people from even trying like with like wholeheartedness, if that makes sense.
yeah, man, I couldn't agree more with that. Um, so let's transition into Web3. So, I mean,
Yes.
how obviously you're big into the music scene. How did you discover or sort of transition into Web3? What was your first experience with the blockchain or cryptocurrency in general?
It was around 2017, 2018 when Bitcoin had that crazy run and everyone started kind of paying attention. Actually, the first time I heard about Bitcoin, because that was my initiation, was in like 2011 or 2012 back in Montreal. Maybe it was even 2010. I feel really, it hurts when I think of the story, but I had a friend, a boyfriend of a friend of mine, who was saying, "You should buy Bitcoin. It's this new currency and it's not attached to any banks." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. What is it?" He's like, "It's digital and they mine it with computers." And I didn't get it, and I didn't like pursue it with him. I kind of only hung out with this guy once or twice because he was dating a friend of mine, and it didn't last super long. But I'll always remember that car ride where he was so into Bitcoin and he's like, "You should do it." So that was around 2011 ish. Suffice it to say, I didn't buy any Bitcoin, which makes me kind of sad. But you know what they say: the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So then, in around 2017, 2018, when Bitcoin had its crazy run, I got interested, and I kind of went in after it did its crazy run, not prior. So I started dabbling in some alts. I had a guy that I knew that kind of led me on my way, and that was my first foray into crypto, basically, like as an
Mm.
investor, I guess.
Yeah, man, shout out those OGs. I feel like we've all got that one person from 10 years ago that was
Yeah.
like, guys, you should buy Bitcoin. I'm telling you, just
It's-
do it.
it
Yeah.
it hurts.
Yeah, man. I was in a similar situation. I mean, I had a friend who was always going on about it in the office that I worked at, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And kind of that's where I discovered marketplaces. So I actually have my first ever Bitcoin transaction still in like an old phone of mine, old mobile wallet, where I paid 300 Aussie dollars for one whole Bitcoin,
Wow.
which I then used to purchase a bag of weed. That's the most expensive bag of weed I've ever bought in my life now, but it's crazy to
Better
think
than
about.
pizza.
Yeah, really,
Better
it's
than
better than
pizza.
pizza. Yeah. Cool. That's crazy. So what about moving into NFTs? Because you mentioned
So
you were sort of dabbling with altcoins. How did that kind of then move into this NFT realm that we're in now?
So it basically kind of it kind of I dabbled in altcoins and I wasn't too serious in it for the past like few for like from 2018 onwards. It was like here and there and I had my coins. I have a crazy story about this Aussie exchange that got hacked where I lost some Doge and some other stuff, which I'm trying to
No.
reclaim. But all that being said, it was really NFTs was a more recent journey for me. It happened in 2021, honestly, and I would have to say that the reason it happened is because, excuse me, when I saw what was going on in the world with all the money printing and whatnot, and how that was starting in like 2019, then I was like, all right, I need to go and kind of like protect myself with some assets, you know? So that's kind of where I and I was already, part of it, but that's where I was like, all right, let me go and kind of pad my Bitcoin like little like wallet here, my stash of Bitcoin, my stash of ETH, the most common ones. And then as time went on, then I started like digging into more alts. And then as time went on, I started, I understood that what NFTs were, but I wasn't that interested. And then just something happened, I guess, last year in 2021, where I was like, oh, this is something I should pay attention to because I do like collecting things and I do like art as being an artist, but I also like the fact that it's kind of converges between investments and kind of hedging against certain things, inflation or whatnot. And I bought a couple of NFTs that weren't that crazy, but it was cool just to go through the minting experience and see how that is. And then I got wind of Murakami and Artifact collab. So that was the first time I actually heard about Artifact. Was when the Murakami collab started, and then I started looking into them. And at that point, it was already like the pigeons, meta pigeons, and all the sneakers were like 15 ETH and crazy prices. Where I was just like, I cannot do this, But I just kept tabs on it. I joined the Discord community. I found it was actually pretty damn cool. I really checked out the team. I had enough time pre-mint to do like my homework and see that this seems legit, and I'm a fan of Murakami. So if like a world renowned artist is teaming with these guys, they must be legit. So I looked into them and I made it a point to buy a clone when the mint went live, and I aped in at 3 ETH. I didn't care. I'm like, I'm not even taking a chance. I'm gonna buy like as soon as this mint goes live. I do not want to miss out on this. At the end of the day, I looked at like the artifact Murakami, the Clone X drop as what's the difference between paying 2 ETH and 3 ETH when these are gonna go up to like 15, 20. I just knew it. I was like, I'm not gonna mess around with like just missing out. So I aped in, then I got lucky and I ended up being one of the ones that got airdropped a free clone. So super grateful for that. But that was really my first foray into the NFT land. It was actually with Clone X. And, I had been eyeballing things. I heard about the apes. They were already way out of my price range. And then I was just keeping my ear to the ground for something cool. And then that caught my interest. So that was kind of my first real purchase, aside from the other couple that I did before that are just whatever NFTs.
Yeah, man. I mean, we had pretty much the same journey, Obviously, I was aware of like NFTs during the art kind of phase when Beeple was kicking off and all that kind of stuff. And then I was just kind of
Exactly.
starting to understand the profile picture stage. I heard about
Hmm.
Bored Ape on like Jimmy Fallon or something. Yeah, because he was
Right.
talking to people actually. He was talking to people. I was watching the People interview and he mentioned, "Oh, I just bought a Bored
That was a
Ape." And I
cool
was like,
interview.
yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I love anything to see people in. I think he's such a cool dude.
Hmm.
So like, just down to earth and just a true nerd. Like his dick and
That
fart
really
sense
caught
of
my
humor.
interest. Right. He totally like caught my interest when I saw Beeple and he sold that first one for however many million. I was just like, number one, good for this guy because he deserves it. And then totally, then it just kind of forced me to start paying attention a little bit more.
I think he's such a good sort of mascot for this digital space in the way that he's not just a corporate, you know, tie and suit guy. He makes ridiculous jokes. He swears like mad, and it kind of speaks true to the NFT community. I feel like we are all kind of degens in some way, and it's kind of like the Wild West out here. You know, we make the rules. And everyone's kind of got a decent sense of humor. Like memes and stuff are such a big thing in the community. I mean, it speaks true with like Dogecoin, right? It's the only reason Dogecoin is worth anything. It's a meme coin. It's just
Totally.
what the community is like. But going back, yeah, to our artifact journey. So seeing people and Fallon talking about Bored Ape, and that's when I looked up and started kind of discovering this profile picture side of NFTs. And I was like, okay, I guess that's what's going on. But again, saw the prices and was like, it's never going to happen. um, and then, yeah, Murakami. I follow Murakami and saw him posting about his new project with Artifact, and I'm like, okay, well, these profile pictures are a big thing, and Murakami is a massive artist. That kind of was the validation for me that this thing is legit. And same, it was my first kind of big I aped in at 3 ETH again, wasn't waiting. And I think it's hard to tell if there wasn't so much like FUD and stuff on the day, like the Discord was mad. Do you remember what the Discord
I
was like?
remember. Oh yeah, I remember that, and I was just kind of like, "Am I allowed to swear on this, or should I
Yeah,
keep it
bro.
PG?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're fucking
All
nuts.
right, yeah. Okay, cool. So I was like, I was basically when I saw that, I'm like, oh shit, did I fuck up here? Like, but then I'm like, nah, man, just trust
Yeah,
trust
bro.
your fucking research, trust your gut. And but it was crazy. I remember that day, and that was my first actual real Discord, like NFT Discord that I was engaged in, because it's hard to
Mhm.
commit energy to like a million Discords. It just is.
Mm.
You have to choose a few projects and kind of like, you get to know people, but I remember that day. It was madness. And then I was just kind of like, all good, man. You got your clone. Murakami's involved. Everything's going to be cool. Don't buy into the FUD. Just like let the haters hate and let's see what happens next. But it was crazy. I do remember that.
Yeah, I had the same kind of range of emotions. It was crazy. I felt so good about everything until I made that purchase. I mean, it was
They're
a
like,
big
shit,
purchase for
breathe,
me.
motherfucker.
Yeah,
Me too.
there's a lot more than like my car that I'm driving costs, you know. So trying to explain it to my girlfriend, she was like, "I don't get it, but I trust you. You're into it. Go nuts. Your money." um, and
Yeah,
then yeah, making the purchase and then seeing all the FUD and seeing that the Dutch auction wasn't going to sell out at 3 ETH because I really predicted it would. I felt so lucky that I even got
same,
one. And even
same.
then, over the next 24 hours with the cancelling of Dutch auction, then the announce of the airdrop. And at first, I thought the airdrop was everyone is going to get a second one that's purchased so far. And then it was like, no, no, no. There's 1,000 to be raffled out between like 7,000. But we both got lucky, man. We both scored a second one. Um, yeah, so grateful for that. And then I sold mine though.
Same.
I sold mine at 11.5 ETH just because I needed the liquidity for these other NFT projects that I'm in. So no mistake, no
Hey,
regrets
man.
there. We all got to do what we got to do, right?
I think people can never be blamed for taking profits or for kind of doing what you got to do. Everyone's situation is different. And um, it's kind of like, far be it from me to go and be like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, or far be it from someone else. As long as the person who's doing it is happy with their decision and it enables them to kind of move forth in life in the way that they see fit, I think it's fucking A, man. To have that, just have that opportunity to have sold one at 11.5 ETH is like a blessing, man. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is one of the hardest decisions you'll ever make in this space is when to buy something and when to sell something, right? And especially
I think
talking
selling is
about like
even harder than buying.
absolutely. And I think the main thing you got to try and think of is the time and the place that you're selling. You can never look back at when you sold something and like, oh, I wish held it. And it's like, well, you sold it for a reason back then. You know, whatever reason it was, you decided that was the best course of action to take. You can't worry about what's going to happen into the future. You know, you can't predict this space. And it is
No.
something that anyone getting into this space is going to have to go through and experience, you know. But
And we're all gonna
again,
fuck up,
having that,
right?
yeah, we're all learning from mistakes here, right? No one's gonna get it perfect on the first run. And
Mhm.
especially with the market at the moment, man. I mean, the amount of projects out there, it's crazy. Where are you sort of focusing on next in the like NFT space? Obviously, you're big into the music production side of things. Have you been keeping an eye on what's happening in the music world? Because that seems to be quite a big development right now in the metaverse.
Definitely. I'm keeping an eye on all that. I mean, everything moves so fast. So for the music world, it definitely it interests me because of the whole metaverse aspect. It interests me the whole just decentralized alternatives to Spotify and all that, who just basically, they don't give a shit about any of the artists and
Mm,
any of the songwriters. People get paid I think it's 0.0035 cents per stream. It might be 0.00035. I don't know. It's so nominal that I just kind of, it's criminal basically. So I kind of am always keeping an ear to the ground in terms of, stuff like Emanate, stuff like Opulus and all that. Because there's a lot of cool, like Rocky, there's a lot of cool Web3 based you know, platforms, streaming, NFT, kind of hybridized, ones that are going and merging metaverse with live performances. There's this company called Pools that releases like social tokens for artists, like Blondish. You probably know who Blondish is because she's really big into the NFT space as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So I'm always keeping my ear to the ground. I'm working on a batch of new songs, and I'm starting to kind of think about how I'm gonna Web3ify
mm,
this next experience, this year. So I'm in the process of moving right now, and I'm in the process of working on a bunch of projects because like I said, I write and work with and for other people, but I also have my own thing. So I'm really kind of keeping an ear to the ground and really thinking about how I'm going to explore this Web3 paradigm with my music moving forward, because I think it's the future. I just think to be able to have that connection with your fans and to be able to kind of, you know, have them have a stake in what it is you're doing, as opposed to the record label or Spotify that has a huge stake and the artists generally get the pittance. I mean, just to make $50,000 in a year, I forget what the number crunching is. It's like millions and millions and millions and millions of streams in Spotify
mm,
just to do like a 50K salary a year. So at the end of the day, I think, the most exciting thing for me about the Web3 space with music is the fact that you can have that communal aspect with your fans, and they can be involved in the journey, and they can be incentivized by getting some money back as well for being a part of it. And I think that's really exciting, and I think that kind of bridges the gap between like the people making the art and the fans, as we see with Artifact, right? We see the way the community's engaged, and they're doing all these challenges, like everything what they're doing, I feel like is applicable for anyone in the music industry to be able to take that idea and utilize it with your own brand. As long as you have a little bit of reach and you start building that out, I just think what they're doing, engaging the community, and creating an experience in the space, what Artifact are doing with the whole CloneX project and all that, I think that is applicable to everything in Web3, and especially music.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a place for it. I think we're still very early, right? People are still
So early.
finding, but it's already great to see the amount of power that the blockchain or Web3 is giving back to artists. We had Frankie Rain on our first episode, and she was discussing selling, a music video NFT, which she sold and then was able to buy her first spacebot. That was her link into Artifact, and it's just, and the fact that these things are just instant still like blows my mind. I don't think people appreciate the difference between, selling something on Web3 or any sort of Web3 transaction where, you know, the coins are immediately deposited into your wallet, it's immediately swapped, everything's just done. Whereas in Web2, nothing is that simple. There has to be someone is providing the service and then they're providing on top. And it's just, yeah, I mean, I can't even fathom where it's going to go. It is interesting to see some of these projects, like some of the ones that you mentioned, and bits from each kind of project doing things in the space. So the very first NFT I actually bought was Dead Mouse's NFT, the
Sick.
heads.
Yeah.
Just because I was a fan of Dead Mouse, and I was like, yeah, cool. This is, and it was my first experience with Polygon, so I learned just through minting. I learned about bridging, and I learned about layer two and that kind of stuff. Um, and then starting to see the benefits which are coming from that. I mean, it's a bit different with Dead Mouse because I'm sure he's a musical artist, but he also dabbles in gaming and this whole metaverse side of things as well. So his NFT is not necessarily for his music fans, um, But like you were saying, to bring your community together as an artist, I think NFT technology and the things you can do with Web3 is going to change the way that artists interact with their fans. Having this Dead Mouse NFT is potentially going to give me access to guest list shows and exclusive merch and all that kind of stuff. That you can't really do in Web 2 with the same kind of power that it has in Web 3. Sure, you can go to an artist's website and create an account and have like a membership with them, but it's you don't actually own anything, right? You don't own that membership. You don't
No.
have that freedom that Web 3 brings.
There's always that third party, that middleman there, so I think that is, Web3, it bridges the gap. I mean, just this conversation, it's because of Web3 that we're having, because I stumbled across you, because we're part of the clone community, and there's so many, I mean, more organic in a way, even though it's still through like a digital means, but there's so many more, there's a far greater ability to have these organic connections, I feel like, through Web3 than there is through Web2. And I hope that that kind of grows in the future. I hope it doesn't get bastardized. And I hope those, like, the corporations and all that don't find a way to kind of like fuck with that and flip it into this Web3 version
Mm,
of Web2. That's kind of, because you see them coming in, right? And I have like mixed feelings about that. I know Nike obviously bought Artifact. So, as an investor, there's certain aspects where you're like, oh, well, this is probably really solid for my investment, because, a company like this wouldn't put so much money into this company unless they knew what was coming and unless they really believed in this space. So as an investor, that's kind of just a happy, I guess, surprise, because we didn't really know of that before going into the whole CloneX thing.
mm,
But, in another way, it kind of, and I'm not like criticizing at all. I'm just talking about just that line we're walking. It's kind of like, all right, well, is this going to become the same kind of thing as Web 2, but Web 2 2.0, Web 3 version? So I think it's like, really, we're at such an early place. But I think that's the exciting thing, where, like you're saying, with Dead Mouse and with artists, you can really kind of bridge that gap. Because at the end of the day, man, we're all people. We all have wants, we all have needs, we all want to be loved, we all want to connect, we all, crave, certain things. Maybe different people crave different things, but I think ultimately, like, we all crave connection and we all crave like community. And I think that that's the biggest surprise for me, since I've gotten into the NFT space, and especially the CloneX space, because I think it is a little bit special, because since then I've gone into some other discords and hung out, and there is something that is very communal and very special about that space. So that's what's exciting, I think, as like an artist and as a creator, as a creative, to be able to kind of have that aspect with your fans, because, or with people that dig the shit you're doing, because that's cool, man. It's an exchange, because I'm a fan too,
mm.
right? I create stuff, but then I'm also a fan of other people. And when I can speak to someone whom I hold like reverence for, or whom I like respect, and have that connection, it's like, oh, this is cool. And then you see they're a cool person, and they're just a person like you, and they're not just this Beyonce or whatever on this huge pedestal, just like Diamond Castle, so out of touch with reality. It's kind of like, it's wholesome in a way. I don't know how else to put it. And I think
Yeah.
that is what makes it special. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100% agree with you. The relationship that you can have with these people that are, considered, like the founders of Artifact, who will just pop up in the Discord chat
Right.
and just chat shit, or on Twitter, replying to people. It's very strange to have such a direct relationship with someone considered to be kind of so high up and out of touch. Like, you'd never be able to talk to the CEO of like a Web 2 company. They're not gonna, I mean, maybe on Twitter, sure, but they're
No.
not gonna jump in the actual Discord for their company and chat to
They
the
might not even
people.
be doxxed. You might even know who they are. You know what I'm saying? At that
Yeah.
point, who.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And it definitely, yeah, humanizes them. It makes you realize, like, oh man, these people are just people too, like me. They're just people with a dream, just like we have our own dreams. And I think it is beautiful how Artifact really support the creators within their community so far. And I think this is obviously just the beginning. Artifact have barely
Yeah.
launched what, like, they're planning big time. Um, so I
What are we,
think the
6 months in? Not
opportunities,
even?
yeah, not even. I mean, really, all we've had is our clones revealed. We got our space pods, sure, but
Hmm.
there's still a long way to go. Um, and I can't wait to see what kind of opportunities arise for creators, because obviously we've just had the creator challenge has just finished in the last day or two. So I'm really excited. So I've already seen some of the designs people have put out on Twitter. Have you been seeing these? They are nuts.
They're sick. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
the
They're
amount of talent
sick.
these
I'm
people have.
I'm I'm so impressed. I started messing with Blender and I'm kind of busy, so I'm still finishing my donut, but that's definitely something I want to get into because I'm a creative. And for me, when I get to the part that's like sculpting and kind of doing that, it's like super easy. It's really just remembering where to go and all the nodes and all the, learning the program. But I see the shit that people are doing and it's absolutely mind blowing. Some of those environments for the loot pods are just like ridiculous.
Mm.
Holy shit.
Yeah, stunning pieces of artwork in themselves, and yeah, that's really made me see the value in 3D, knowing how to 3D model. If you're getting
Dude.
into sort of the Web3 space, because it's already such a massive market. Like you could be creating wearables for people on Decentraland, or there are architects. People hire an architect to build their house or whatever they want in the metaverse
Yeah,
sandbox,
that Mars
whatever.
house, that first Mars house, you know about that. It's, like there's so much possibility with the whole 3D modeling. I agree with you. I think it's insane. And there's so many talented people out there that maybe wouldn't have known how to kind of or had the the in or just what to do with the means of what to do with it to get like recognized. And I think that is like props to that. Props to this. That's Web3 for you, man. Props to
Mm,
Artifact for doing that and recognizing that there's a lot of talented people. And it's just mind blowing. I just feel like, when people do the free airdrops and you put your ETH address in there and you get like this amazing piece that someone just made for free. I mean, where else do you get to do that shit, man?
mm. Yeah, because I can only imagine the amount of time. I do a lot of video editing and stuff, and the amount of hours it can take to go to make a 4-minute video, and that's before you're even doing any sort of After Effects and stuff. So to 3D modeling, when I see the amount of detail that go into these designs, I just can't imagine how many hours it must take of sitting there and modeling things on a computer. Yeah, I mean, shout out to all the creators in the space. I'm constantly impressed by what you guys are doing, and I can't wait to see what comes
Same,
out of this creator challenge.
same.
Uh, so to finish it off, let's talk about the future. So currently we are waiting for Quest 4 to start. They said the last week of March, but that's like we've only got 2 days, so I don't know what's going on. They said that the monolith would
Yeah.
reveal in the last week of March. I don't know if there's been a delay for whatever reason. Have you been getting involved in the quests much as they've been live?
As much as I can, depending on time zones and when they happen, and depending on my workload. I'm in the studio a lot, so I was more on the first two than on the last one,
Same.
just because of like the timing. But I've been keeping tabs, and I mean, just some of the people solving these. I think it was in the second quest. There were such complex things. I was just super impressed by the highly intelligent people in this community that were able to riddle, solve, and suss out all the clues. It's just impressive. But yeah, I'm excited about that reveal, and it is the last week. I think they're gonna pull some kind of April Fool's joke on us just because they're trolls, artifacts. So I don't know. I don't know what it's
Maybe.
gonna be. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I feel like there's gonna be some April Fool's trolling going on, and I don't know if that's gonna be part of the reveal. But yeah, it is like we're 3 days out, right? Before the first of the month or so, and the last leg has not started yet. So I'm just wondering. I'm just patiently waiting and I'm kind of enjoying the journey. I feel like again, they're making this reveal into an experience as opposed to just like, all right, we're gonna wait like 2 weeks for the reveal. And everyone's like, when reveal with the smashing button like memes and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
I
I
think
just think it's exciting. So
I
go
was
on.
I was going to say I think patience is something very important if you want to get involved in the artifact community, because
Hmm.
nothing happens quickly and they're very secretive and cryptic about everything they do. Even the
Hmm.
sandbox game, I just today before coming on this stream with you, I just completed the meta dungeon that they've created in sandbox. And man, that thing is so tough. Have you played it at all?
Is it? I have not had the like mental space to go in there and devote. I used to game
Well,
like
no, man,
hard.
you
I used to
need
be like a hard
time.
yeah, I used to be a hard Elder Scrolls guy, like Oblivion and Skyrim and all
Okay,
that. So
sick.
I love, yeah, I love immersing myself. But as of late, I'm just working on so many projects and things that I just do not have the mental bandwidth once I'm done with my day to kind of just go back into a screen and really engage. I need to kind of
Yeah,
disconnect
man.
a little bit because, I'm working on music and just on my computer a lot by nature of just, modern day recording and whatnot. So I haven't, but has it been fun at least? The sandbox
Oh
space?
yeah. Yeah, it's been really fun. So I actually won an alpha pass through the Dead Mouse. All the heads holders got an alpha pass, which is why I'm now smashing Sandbox to try and complete the alpha pass and earn as much sand as possible. And
Sick.
yeah, I did the meta dungeon, and it's probably the 10th or 11th like zone I've been in the new alpha pass, and it is by far
Mhm.
the most difficult. I spent probably over an hour just trying to complete the meta dungeon. It's very, if you like sort of arcadey scrollers, it's up
Mhm.
there with like some of the old school classics that are just super tough. The kind of game where the only way you're going to know how to get from A to B is by playing it 100 times and failing 100 times, and knowing that that jump is a little bit further than the jump before, or whatever it might be. They did
I know
a
that world
really
very
good
well.
job with that. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it speaks true to Artifact. They're very detailed in what they do, like the sandbox thing, the amount of detail that they've put into building this massive just maze essentially that you need to try and work through. They've built this whole city. Like, it feels like you're just kind of in this confined maze, and then at one point it's like, oh, do you want to go to the city? And you press yes, and then all of a sudden you're in this Artifact city that they've built, and there's lots of little sort of Easter eggs hidden around. It's really, really fun. Yeah, if you get a chance to jump in, definitely check it
I'm
out.
definitely going to. Yeah,
Mm.
it's on
And
my list. When I get like a little break between projects, I'm gonna nerd out for like a week or so on that.
yeah, nice. And then with the monolith, what's your best guess? I've been asking everybody this. What's your best guess to what it is, what's inside it, what it's going to become?
All right, I'm gonna stick with my initial guess on what it is. I think there's something. I think there's gonna be multiple things in there, but I think there's gonna be probably something that is like woo, like a little bit more of a woo than the rest of them. So I think for me, it's gonna be something sentient. I know they mentioned that it's sentient. I don't know if they meant that the monolith itself is sentient or that what's going to come out of it is sentient, but there was there's I'm into kind of sacred geometry and a lot of that. So, who was it that was that had like in the Discord. I want to credit them because they did a lot of crazy work that it's not Windy John, it's Saul Goodman. He kind of had a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of cool, yeah, Saul had a lot of cool concepts with just with the sacred geometry and all that. And then they were like, you have to be chill, and they had a little alien. So I feel like there's going to be some kind of creature, some kind of sentient creature that is like a Nike. I don't know if it's going to be a PFP, but I think there's going to be some kind of sentient Nike artifact hybrid creature, like a clone or something
Mm.
in there, a baby clone or something like that. I could be wrong, obviously, but that was my first kind of guess, and I'm going to stick to that because it could literally be anything. But I think there's going to be some kind of sentient creature clone like thing in there, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think it's a great theory. It's one I've seen in the space a fair bit. I mean, the top theories tend to be merch, sneakers, some sort of
Hmm.
pet, sentient. Someone suggested
It
land.
could be a
Uh,
pet. Hmm.
yeah, I think a pet. I think the thing is, how does Nike tie into that? Because obviously Nike's got the logo on the box, so they're definitely involved as
It's their
Nike, the
first
brand.
NFT, right?
Yeah, yeah. Technically, we've
So
got the first NFT.
they're going to want to make an impact, right? I think considering because Nike, the whole thing about Nike, and I did some research. I'm not a big like Nike fan. I'm not really like, into that thing, but I did some research and in my research, since Monolith dropped, I came to discover that they were a little bit late getting into the digital realm, getting into Web3, and then they kind of went hard. And the artifact purchase was like their big one. So I just feel like if they want to kind of spearhead something that's going to be moving forward in terms of the future, and this is their first thing, it's going to be something like big. I think sneakers are a possibility, but I feel like there's going to be something less obvious than a sneaker in there. The land thing might be interesting, what you just said. I don't know, I haven't thought about that, but I feel like it's going to be something big where people are going to be like, oh fuck.
Mm, yeah, yeah. It's either I'm hoping it's not something that anyone is expecting. You know what I mean? I'm hoping
Yeah,
that we're
yeah,
all way off, and it's part of this vision that none of us even have because we're not on these guys' level. It's just like with the space pods and loot pods. I feel like it's so. At the moment they're just virtual galleries, but I feel like there's whispers of multiplayer, and we're going to be able to use our 3D clone files in there. So
100%.
that's going to become, I think, a massive if it all plans out as they're saying, a massive ecosystem within the Web3 space to be able to hang out in space pods with wearing like your PFP. Um, yeah, I'm really, really
What's
excited for
outside of
that.
the space pods? What's outside? Like who, I think I think the space pods ultimately are like our apartments, our land in some kind of metaverse that either exists already or is being built that we don't know of. But I just kind of still feel like the legacy pods are grossly undervalued. I still think that they had their pump when like all the loot pods and everything was kind of being given out. And then since then they've dropped down from above. Like I think they went up to 4 ETH and then they were around hovering around 2 for a while. And now they're at like 1.4 ish last I
Mm,
checked today. But I still think they're undervalued. And I don't even think even you and I having this conversation where we know there's something brewing and it's going to be a hangout place for sure. And the 3D files for sure going to integrate in there. I don't even think we like understand what we're holding just yet. And that's kind of a big reason for me why I didn't want to sell a monolith yet. I had people offer me like one of my clones and two monoliths for a Murakami after after they got their whitelist for the flowers. So I was
yeah,
just kind
right.
of like, yeah, I'm like that's cool, but I just feel like knowing Artifact, it would be I don't know, a little bit hasty to kind of get rid of that monolith and just kind of get rid of any of the peripherals without really knowing what they're doing. Because so far, all
Yeah.
they've been doing is delivering value, and all they've been doing is kind of surpassing expectations. And they're really not about the hype. They're kind of like you said, kind of cryptic, and they keep quiet. And then it just like a bunch of stuff happens at once, and people's heads start spinning because they're like, "Holy fuck, what the hell are these guys doing?" And every time they do something, people are like, "Holy fuck!" So I have no doubt that whatever's coming forth is going to probably be bigger than we could even like imagine. But I think, we right now have land in some kind of metaverse that we don't even know exists. That's going to probably be highly valuable and highly valued in the not too distant future. That's just kind of what I think about all the pods.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Like, I could never get rid of my monolith without knowing what it is or what it does. I mean, the floor price will probably drop depending on what it is or how it works.
Probably.
You know, Typically when you have an unrevealed NFT after the reveal, it kind of drops. It's not worth as much as it was
Hmm.
unrevealed. So even though the floor may drop on it, I could never get rid of without knowing, what I'm giving up. Because yeah, who knows, man? Artifacts are on the big crazy things. Um, and yeah, I think it's going to be a nuts month ahead. I think April is going to be
Hmm.
huge for us. It's been pretty quiet, really, over the last couple of months. We've been questing now for going on 2 months, I feel. Um,
They're brewing, they're stewing something, man. The pot's boiling and it's probably like ready, like it's on high right now in their camp. I just feel like something's getting ready to pop, because they've been quiet.
yeah, they've been very quiet, and when they're quiet, they're cooking. And I have no
Hmm.
doubt these guys are working every hour of every day. I don't even know if they sleep, these guys. So, man, I'm very excited
Crazy.
to see how this goes. I'm so happy to be like on this journey together. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you. I love meeting people within this
Likewise.
community, and such a big thing to be involved in the community. And I can't wait to see where your Web3 journey takes you, man. I'll be following you on socials. So, Alone Architect, make sure you
Sweet.
guys follow along too. Check out some of his art. It really is fascinating, and I wish you all the best in the space, man. I think you could go on to big things.
Likewise, man. And I just want to say thank you for having me. And it's been great connecting as well. I always love connecting with fellow clone holders. And it's just been I just feel grateful and I feel really kind of blessed to found this space and to have been like, I guess, for the timing to align for me to actually, for Clone X to come into my sphere of consciousness. Cause I've met some cool people through it as well, which is like what I was saying before, I never expected that. Cause you don't have that just like, dealing in tokens and Bitcoin, ETH, and whatever XR, whatever whatever like altcoins, shitcoins, whatever you're into. It's not the same as this. But again, this community's special, so I feel grateful. I feel blessed, and just thank you so much for having this conversation. And I'm really happy to have met you, man. Really cool.
Yeah,
I really
man.
love what you're doing. I
Likewise.
think this
Really
is
appreciate it.
super cool, and keep
Especially,
keep doing it.
yeah, thank you, bud. I realize you're mid move this week, so really appreciate you taking the time to squeeze us in and come have a chat. It's been really good. I'll definitely stay in touch as we
Def.
journey through the metaverse. To anyone watching, listening, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to end the episode here, and we'll catch you on the next one.